G'day guys, this is Tia and welcome back to another Fallout 76 playable Ghoul video. If you missed today's earlier video, I highly suggest you check it out and get the full overview of this upcoming feature, as this video will only be focusing on the new Ghoul Perk cards. Once again, huge shout out to Bethesda for flying me out to London to check out and playtest becoming a Ghoul, and allowing me to showcase what I've learned for all of you legends that watch my videos. Trust me when I say, the future of this game is positively glowing. Now, in this video, I will be going over in detail all 28 brand new Ghoul Perk cards and the new 2 Ghoul Legendary Perk cards coming with the playable Ghoul feature. That's right guys, 30 brand new perk cards, 2 of which are legendary. And fair warning guys, Bethesda absolutely cooked with this update, and there are some insane build possibilities and crazy synergies and interactions with the new Ghoul mechanics and features. I'm so excited to showcase it all for you guys. 2 builds in particular that I've already theory crafted, I'm really keen to showcase. One is the Rad-Reaver, and one is called the Nucleus. Rad-Reaver's focus on melee, while the Nucleus focuses on ranged explosions and gunplay. I'm not going to share too much on what I've theory crafted, so for right now, without further ado, let's start talking about the perk cards. Alrighty, let's start with the big heavy hitters, the 2 new legendary Ghoul perk cards. Essentially, one is for feral Ghoul players and one is for non-feral Ghoul players. I'll have a video discussing what the feral mechanic is in a future video. I did briefly touch on it in the overview in the previous video. But yeah, the first one up is Action Diet. At max rank, this will make kills heal you by 8 HP and reduce how feral you are by 5%. So every single kill will heal you, which is incredible for your sustain and keeping you alive, especially when synergized with a few other healing effects like the 4-stars, conductors, vampires, weaponry, or maybe some medic effects that you might have. Smacking that on top will be very useful for normal day-to-day gameplay, especially in some boss situations where they have ads running around. Take out the ads, heal yourself back up. No dramas. Now this perk will be a must-have if you are the type of Ghoul player that will not want to be feral, which will mostly be ranged players. As I explained in the overview in the previous video, it seems like the only benefits for being feral will be for melee or unarmed builds. So if you're a ranged Ghoul player, you'll want to remain sane and not become feral. So this legendary perk will help drastically with keeping your sanity intact and negating the whole feral mechanic so you don't drift off and lose your ranged abilities. Next up we have Feral Rage. Max rank decreases the cost of your glow abilities by 50% while you are feral. So, obviously it's in the name, Feral Rage. This synergizes both of the new mechanics, both the glow meter and the feral meter. So while you are feral, which is what you'll want to be doing if you are melee or unarmed, so this is definitely the perk card, the legendary perk card to make use of if you're going to be a feral melee player. It also synergizes with the glow mechanic, so later on I'll show you guys we have some perk cards that utilize a new meter or bar or resource, however you want to describe it. Let's go with resource. A new resource that is called Glow. As a Ghoul, you can build up Glow by taking radiation damage, and some of your perk cards will use this Glow. So, Feral Rage, while you are feral, all Glow abilities will use 50% less Glow. Most of these perk cards, as I'll show you in the future, are just ways for you to deal more damage under certain circumstances, so this perk card will be insanely valuable for those feral Ghoul players. Even if you're not melee and you just want to utilize the glow abilities in a bit more of an optimized way and dip a little bit into a feralness state, then this is also a great perk card for those builds. Alright, now moving on to the 28 new regular Ghoul perk cards. It appears so far we have 4 new perk cards for each special attribute. 4 for strength, 4 for perception, 4 for endurance, so on and so forth, charisma, intelligence, agility, and luck. Each new special attribute has 4 new perk cards. So let's start off with strength. The very first perk card on the roster is Arms of Steel, increasing your accuracy and reduced recoil by 40% at max rank. Essentially, if you are a ranged player and you want to be more accurate, this basically mimics the properties of the stabilized 4-star effect. Arms of Steel basically mimics that. 40% is huge. Combining that with that 4-star will make your guns pinpoint accurate. If you're not using VATS, and you like to free aim, then this might be a perk for you to consider picking up. Next up we have Bone Shatterer. At max rank, your melee weapons have a 60% chance to cripple a limb. That's pretty much all there is to it. Melee and unarmed this also counts for. 60% chance to cripple whatever limb you strike with your melee or unarmed weapon. Thanks to the Twisted Muscles mutation, we as melee players already have a pretty high chance to cripple enemies. Adding this on top will basically guarantee it. So if that's your goal and you want to deal cripple damage, this would be a fantastic perk to chuck into the mix, although I do not rate it as a necessity or that highly for a melee ghoul player. Typically with those sort of builds, you just want to get in, deal your damage, kill the enemy as quick as possible and get out of the fight. No need to mess around with trying to cripple limbs. I would save that sort of gameplay feature for ranged builds like with shotgunners or heavy gunners. They have an incredibly high chance to cripple limbs at a safe distance. So yeah, Bone Shatterer, amazing ability, but not something that I would highly recommend. Next up we have Brick Wall, making you immune to staggering attacks. This perk will be a must-have for all ghoul players, becoming completely immune to all staggers. Jaguars will no longer stagger you, Ultrasight Titan blasts will no longer stagger you, other players in PvP will no longer stagger you. There's no chance that you will get staggered at all. That just is completely removed from the game if you have this perk card equipped. So this is very valuable, and like I said, would be a must-have. In some cases, I might even say that this perk alone is worth becoming a ghoul. So next up we have Radioactive Strength. This perk says that when you are at max rank, you expel a large amount of glow to deal 300% more damage with melee power attacks and bashing attacks. That is massive. If you saw in my video yesterday, there was a point in the video where my glowed up melee character was able to dish out 27,000 melee damage on a critical. That was largely due to this perk card. So this is one of the first perk cards on the list that will be utilizing the new glow mechanic. So essentially, you build up a lot of glow by taking radiation damage. Once you've got enough stored up, then you can then utilize it with some of these perk cards. Radioactive Strength says it uses a large amount of glow. We don't know the exact number yet, but from playtesting, it takes a good amount of your radiation or glow meter down per strike. So this in combination with that Feral Rage legendary perk card will definitely be very handy to cut that by 50%. So yeah, essentially load yourself up on radiation, on glow, utilize that to then deal 300% more power attack damage, or bashing damage if you would like to use the shredding minigun or just bash things with your rifle or pistol. However, I think this will be a lot better to utilize with a power attack weapon or melee build that is entirely focused around that sort of thing. Synergize this with the 2nd star power attack damage bonus and a few other things and you will be laughing. This perk card is going to allow you to get insanely high damage numbers. And it is not yet known if the power attack label counts for automatic melee weapons. I'm sure a lot of you already know that automatic melee weapons, just their regular attack, counts as power attacking. It's not yet known if just those regular attacks will benefit from this perk card. I'm going to assume there will be a thing in place to make sure that it doesn't, because I just see it now. Auto Axe is dealing 300% more damage than normal with this perk card. Is going to be a balance problem, but we'll see. But yeah, this is going to be one of the main staple perk cards for the melee and unarmed ghoul builds. Pump yourself full of rads, use those rads to empower yourself, dish out 300% more bashing or power attack damage. Next up we have Perception. So first up is Breathe It In. At max rank, rad resistance is reduced by 150 points. So essentially, as a ghoul, you don't want rad resistance, because the more rad resistance you have means the less rads will affect you, which means the less glow you will have and the less you will heal from radiation. So with absolutely zero rad resistance, radiation will be more beneficial for you as a ghoul. It's obvious. It works essentially the same way as the ghoulish perk card does for regular human players. Less rads equals more healing and more benefits. So with this perk, if you do happen to get some rad resistance, either by Secret Service armor, maybe some chems or whatever the case may be, you can pop this on and reduce that down by 150 points and help you out a little bit there. Obviously, this will do next to nothing if you're wearing power armor. It does appear that ghoul players will not be able to fully utilize power armor builds, as the power armor by itself gives you quite a substantial amount of rad resistance, normally in the ballpark of 300 to 500, and on top of that, it has a natural 90% radiation resistance that you just can't get rid of with power armor. So that 90% statistic there will be a huge kick in the guts for ghoul players. So far, I'm under the impression that it won't be worth doing a ghoul power armor build, but I will be testing it when it comes to PTS. Anyway, Breathe It In, great perk card if you do have rad resistance that you want to get rid of. to just make this whole sort of thing work a little bit better for you. Next up we have Eye of the Hunter. At max rank this says your vision allows you to be more accurate in VATS from a very long distance. It seems with this perk card, it simply just makes you more accurate in VATS from a further distance. Your accuracy doesn't seem to change when you're closer to mid-range, but when it starts to taper off and your distance comes into play and your accuracy goes down, if you have this perk card equipped, then the accuracy doesn't go down as much. So essentially, this perk is perfect for those sniper players that want to utilize VATS. It'll just make those headshots pop off a little bit more swiftly and smoothly. Next up we have Rad-Reaver. Dealing non-automatic melee damage provides a small amount of glow. So anytime you strike something with a super sledge, with your fists or a power fist, whatever the case may be, if it's non-automatic, then you'll just regenerate trace amounts of glow for your glow meter to then utilize in more attacks, namely the Radioactive Strength perk card we discussed in Strength. So those two will synergize quite nicely together. One perk will take away your glow and one perk will give it back by a smaller amount. So Rad-Reaver will definitely be a must-have for those melee ghoul players. It'll help keep you topped up on glow without needing to pop toxic goo or whatever you might want to use to give yourself rads. From there we have Glowing Hunter. This perk card makes you have a 50% chance for glowing blood to drop on animal corpses. So this could count from anything from a rad rat all the way up to a scorched beast. Essentially, you got a 50% chance for glowing blood to drop on these animal corpses that you can then pick up and utilize to keep yourself topped up on glow. That's pretty much all it is. It's a helpful sustained perk. You can loot corpses and give yourself radiation. Animals don't make up a large majority of enemies you'll be fighting in the wasteland, but it's still nice to have a little bit of rads pop up here and there. Next up, let's go over the endurance perk cards. First up, we have Glowing Gut. At max rank, irradiated food and drink grant 300% more rads. Similar to the last perk, this is just to help you keep your glow meter topped up and give yourself more rads. I would not classify this sort of thing as essential, but it's definitely really useful for quality of life if you're struggling to keep yourself irradiated. Personally, I'll probably be carrying around gamma guns or toxic goo to give myself a lot of glow instantly. Although, there are some cases where toxic goo does count as drink, so maybe this perk card might work for toxic goo. That's worth checking out. I'll have to test that out. So yeah, Glowing Gut, just a really nice quality of life perk. Then we have Radiation Power. At max rank, you expend a small amount of glow per hit to deal 30% bonus damage to targets. Again, we don't know the exact numbers of how much glow this is going to consume from your glow meter, but it does say small, so we'll take it at face value and assume it's not that much. Each rank increases the amount of damage you deal back by 10%. Max rank 30% bonus damage to targets is a lot, only costing 3 ranks. Radiation Power seems like a must-have perk if you want to deal as much damage as possible. It works for melee and ranged builds. So yeah, that'll be pretty sick. Next up we have Thick Skin. Now this perk states that at max rank, you take significantly less ballistic damage, and it does not work in power armor. We have no numbers, but by the wording, I'm going to assume that it is percent based. So essentially, Thick Skin is probably going to be the same effect that the Hellcat power armor bonus gives you. You know, Hellcat, each piece of power armor gives you 2% damage negation from ballistic attacks. I'm going to assume Thick Skin is something similar to that, and maybe at max rank it will give you 10% less damage from ballistic attacks. Not sure on the numbers just yet, but we'll figure that out, I'm sure. So yeah, Thick Skin essentially just makes you incredibly tanky towards weapons that deal ballistic damage. Doesn't work on energy, fire, cryo, poison, etc. Just ballistic. Next up we have Chem Diet. This perk states that at max rank you are 75% more effective at reducing how feral you are by the use of chems. So if you missed it in my overview video, basically you take chems to keep yourself sane, you don't take chems and you gradually go feral. Chem Diet, just quality of life perk, makes it easier to stay non-feral. It's essentially all it is. I would not classify this as a must-have perk, but it's still handy to have. For some of you, it might be a must-have if you don't want to be feral as a ghoul player, and you just want to, keep that sanity meter in check a little easier. Obviously, if you want to be feral, then you don't want this perk at all. Next up, we have the Charisma perks. First up, we have Powerful Presence. At max rank, this perk states that attacking a full health target inflicts 50% bonus damage. That is huge. This is essentially the instigating effect, but just for all ghouls, and it's in Charisma. That's easily slotted in on almost all builds. That's going to make you do so much more damage on top of your first strike attack. You could even pair this with Instigating, since Bloodied is not going to be a possible playstyle to utilize as a ghoul. So pair that with Powerful Presence and Instigating and you've got a winning combination there. This is going to be very, very handy. So yeah, Powerful Presence, I'm going to categorize this as a absolute must-have for ghoul players, no matter what build you are. Next up, we have United Ordeal. At max rank, while you're on a team with another ghoul player, you gain +3 to all of your special. So essentially this is a little bit of a, here you go, attaboy, because ghouls cannot use Unyielding. So if you're on a team with another ghoul player, which more than likely will happen every time you're on a team, ghoul players will be incredibly popular, you get another -3 to all of your special, including Endurance. Essentially the way I look at it, United Ordeal is just another herd mentality. Herd mentality, that mutation whenever you're on a team, and using Stranger Numbers, you get +3 to all your special stats. Now with the United Ordeal, if you use that and this, you get a +6 to all of your special stats. That's going to be very handy and useful for a lot of reasons. So yeah, United Ordeal will definitely be worth trying to fit into your perk loadout. I wouldn't classify it as a must-have, but it's definitely worth considering finding room for, 100%. Especially if you're a melee player, getting as much strength as you possibly can, that would be a must-have. From there we have Moral Support. It's only worth 1 point, and it states that when you are on a team, you become feral 50% slower. It says nothing about other ghouls on your team, just you. So you can be the only ghoul on the team. As long as you're on the team, you become feral 50% slower. Obviously this perk is only good if you want to utilize ranged weaponry and not be feral. If you want to become feral and use melee weapons, then this is not the perk to slot in. Aside from that, it's just a little bit of quality of life. Worth only 1 point. You can consider slotting it in, but I'm going to say that it's not really that worth it, in my honest opinion. But yeah, Moral Support, just allowing you to brave the dangers of the wasteland as a ghoul a little bit easier. Next up, we have Glowing One. This perk is going to be amazing, one of those helpful perks that are going to be so useful for teams comprised of mostly ghouls. At max rank, it states that storing large amounts of glow provides a medium amount of glow to nearby ghouls on your team. So essentially, you remember those glowing ones from Fallout 3 in New Vegas, how they would just hold their arms up in the air and explode a bunch of radiation, healing ghouls around them? It's essentially that same thing. We can do that now. So just passively, we don't have to raise our arms or do anything special, but just passively, if we have a large amount of radiation, a large amount of our glow meter filled, then nearby teammates will get glow as a result. Essentially, we are so irradiated that we are expelling small amounts of radiation to nearby teammates, benefiting them. So yeah, Glowing One, if you're playing in a team, must have in my opinion. That'll be so good for certain situations, keeping everyone stocked up on glow. Next up, we have the Intelligence perk cards. This is where a lot of them get really fun in my opinion. First up, we have Mad Scientist. At max rank, this perk card states that you are expending a small amount of glow per attack, giving your energy weapons 30% bonus damage. I'm not entirely sure what any of this has to do with being a ghoul, radiation or whatever, but sure, I'll take it. This makes energy weapon builds 30% more powerful than normal human energy weapon builds, so that's pretty cool. We'll take it at face value again and assume it's not that much glow being used. Every pull of the trigger, every projectile fired from your energy weapon will use glow and will do 30% more damage as a result. So if you want to deal more damage with your energy weapons and you are an energy weapon build or an energy weapon ghoul build, then Mad Scientist is the way to go, and that would be a must-have. Next up, we have Rad Specialist, and this is a interesting perk that I didn't get to test while I was over there, but I will be testing on the PTS. This states at max rank, your experience with Rads allows you to craft any armor piece with greater Rad resistance. And that is permanent from what I understand, so we don't know the numbers just yet. I'm going to assume, let's say, first rank gives you 25 extra Rads, and max rank gives you 50 extra Rads. So with this perk, let's say, can we craft a wooden chest piece, and it will just give us 50 Rad resistance? We can give that to teammates and they can utilize it, and it stays on there permanently. If so, that's incredible. Because you are a ghoul, you wouldn't want to utilize this perk card for yourself. This is the sort of team play crafting perk that would be utilized for non-ghoul players. As a ghoul, you don't want Rad resistance. but maybe you can use your, as it says here, your experience with rads to help out your human teammates. That's pretty interesting in my opinion. So if you've got a player that is wanting a little bit more rads, you can do them a solid and craft them a full set of armor with this perk card, and it gives them a little bit of a boost to rad resistance, which I think is a pretty neat mechanic. We should have more stuff like this. We need more stuff that incentivizes a master crafter or master builder role. So yeah, I like this type of perk, 100%. Next up is a big one. We have Bomb Scientist. At max rank, this states, expending glow makes your thrown grenades blast 30% larger and deal 300% more damage. This is what my nucleus build is going to be based around. Essentially, we're going to be chucking a lot of grenades, utilizing Grenadier and Demo Expert, and dealing a lot of damage in a massive radius. So yeah, this perk has some insane potential to be very useful. We don't see a lot of grenade-only builds. This perk might change that and give us a reason to put away the Fat Man, put away the auto grenade launcher, and purely pick up grenades as our main weapon. I'm excited for it. I'm excited to try it out. It's definitely an interesting combination that we can utilize. I'm excited for it to come out. Then finally for intelligence, we have Science Monster. At max rank, while you have glow, you gain 15% bonus damage for 10 seconds upon getting hit. So it doesn't consume any of the glow that you do have. It just states while you do have glow. So you could have 1 metric of glow of radiation stored up, you still get this bonus. Upon getting hit, attacked, punched, shot at, whatever, you do 15% bonus damage. This is going to be a must-have for all ghoul builds, especially the melee ones. Science Monster, amazing perk, gonna be very powerful combination. Next up we have the agility perks. First up is Action Ghoul. This is basically copy-pasting Action Boy / Girl, but whatever, I'm here for it. The power of glow makes your AP regenerate 45% faster at max rank. I'm not sure if this consumes glow, or just by like the Science Monster perk, if you just have glow, it activates this faster regeneration effect. Either way, your AP is going to be regenning very fast. Combine this with Action Boy / Girl, and then you got like 90% faster AP regen. Obviously the maths gives you a bit of diminishing returns, especially when you stack on some other effects that regen AP. But this is going to be a huge winning combo for those VATS builds that want their AP to regen even faster. This could be classified as a must-have perk card depending on what you're doing. Then next up we have Jaguar Speed. This is a weird one. So max rank, you now sprint 20% faster when your glow is high. I really hate movement speed perks because they don't work. If you don't know, in Fallout 76, your movement speed is completely capped out at 25%, which the Speed Demon mutation gives you. So once you have that mutation, you are moving at maximum speed. You cannot go any faster no matter how many movement speed perks you chuck on top. And it works the same way as well, the other way around. If you use some other movement speed perks and it adds up to 25%, taking Speed Demon doesn't make you go any faster. Like, you are capped. So Jaguar Speed is going to be a dud. One of the only duds in this perk card list that I'm seeing at the moment, which is unfortunate. Hopefully the speed cap gets changed and like there's diminishing returns and you can stack it higher maybe. If that does happen, then Jaguar Speed could be a pretty fun one to use to move even faster. But as of right now, it's going to be a dud. Next up we have Gun Tricks. So at max rank, this states that your enhanced reflexes allow you to reload weapons 30% faster. That's all weapons. For 3 perk points, you can reload all weapons 30% faster. That's huge. And you can stack that on top of your weapon-specific reload speed perk cards as well. And you can stack on the Speed Demon mutation. There's no cap for reload speed in this game. So this perk card is going to be pretty handy for a lot of ranged weapon builds. With the right combos, you could make the weapons reload in a blink of an eye, or you could finally make use of some really slow reloading weapons like the Dragon and make their reloads a little bit more bearable. Time will tell how this perk plays out. Then finally we have Hyper Reflexes. At max rank, when your glow is high, gain a 45% evasion chance, no power armor. So essentially this is just the evasive perk card, but for ghouls. And a very high percent chance at that. So obviously, I think the reason this perk exists is because ghoul players can't really make use of serendipity, which gives a far higher percent chance to evade, so they get their own one. When your glow is high, when you have a lot of radiation, you just get a higher percent chance to evade. I can see this getting nerfed a little bit because an almost 45% chance to take no damage when you're at full health with full of rads is pretty powerful. I can see this being changed to scale with agility, maybe just like evasive. It's very powerful, but that's the point I'm making. It's very powerful. Like, having this in the game, people will not be dying at all. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Hyper Reflexes is a very great defensive perk. And then the last special stat we have is luck. Well, first up we have Battle Genes. At max rank, this states you gain 2 health per second while in combat. Now, 2 health might not seem like a lot, but having that constantly regenerating for only 2 perk points is actually quite worth it in my opinion. You stack that on top of Sawbones or Rejuvenators, or that Action Diet legendary perk card we talked about at the start of the video, maybe a few other things like Vampires, it's going to be pretty hard to take you down. So Battle Genes, you know, gain 2 HP per second per tick, pretty decent perk. I wouldn't say this is a dud. I would say it's pretty valuable, it has its place, but it wouldn't be a must-have in my opinion. The return 2 HP isn't massive, but it might be noticeable. It might be noticeable enough to keep you alive in a few situations. So yeah, Battle Genes, pretty cool perk. Then we have bloody VATS. This perk is just ridiculous. It states at max rank, you gain 30% bonus damage in VATS, and enemies may turn into paste. No crits. So essentially this just gives you the bloody mess perk effect, so enemies will be exploding into a bloody red paste. Combine that with this perk, and that will be happening far more often. But essentially this perk is just going to be a free 30% bonus damage boost, because everyone already uses VATS, and now VATS players just get a free 30% bonus damage effect. Like, that's it, just free. Use VATS, you get 30% more damage. If you don't use VATS, then you don't get this 30% bonus damage. That seems a little out of the ordinary for me because VATS is already overperforming and I would like to see more stuff to help out non-VATS builds. But whatever, you know, cool. Even more bonus damage. This is going to also work for melee players because melee players do use VATS. So just a free 30% bonus damage. We'll take it. Awesome. Bloody VATS. Let's go. And kind of going in theme again, we have faulty spots. Weak point damage is increased by 15%. And this costs 2 perk points to slot in. It's only 1 rank. This is going to be an absolute must-have. You need this on every build. Again, just like the other perk, Bloody VATS, this is just going to be incentivizing VATS playstyle even more. Not only do you get 30% extra damage for being in VATS, but now you also get 15% extra weak spot damage, which are more easy to hit in VATS. There's definitely a playstyle preference here. I would like these sort of perks to do a bonus for non-VATS. Like maybe if this gave you weak point damage by 15%, in VATS and 30% extra weak point damage outside of VATS. Some stuff like that, you know? Just give non-VATS players a little bit of an attaboy, a little bit of a boost. Aside from that, this is an awesome perk and it can be very helpful and very powerful. And then finally for luck and for the video, the 28th regular Ghoul Perk card we have is Wild West Hands. Obviously inspired by the Ghoul from the Fallout TV show. This states you have a 36% chance to instantly reload your entire magazine when empty. Now essentially this is just a copy and paste of the other luck perk card that we already have, except this is a far higher percent chance. You could use the both of them and stack them together and just get, I don't know, a ridiculously high, like 50-something% chance to reload your entire magazine when empty. Or you could just use this one and get a higher percent chance as a ghoul. Either way, I wouldn't call it a must-have perk, but it definitely has a place for some weapons that you might be using, as it is a very high percent chance to function. So yeah, Wild West Hands, pretty good perk, can keep you in the fight. Alrighty guys, those were all 30 brand new ghoul-specific perk cards. We had 28 regular perk cards, 4 for each special attribute, and we had 2 new legendary Ghoul Perk cards as well. Now, some of these are absolutely incredible and have a lot of potential for brand new build possibilities. They synergize really well with each other, and they synergize really well with the new glow mechanic and the feral mechanic that ghouls have access to. I'm very excited to, like I said, utilize my Nucleus build and my Rad-Zerker melee build, along with a few others that I'm keeping hidden for now. There's going to be some sick potential out there, and I'm sure there's going to be many other players discovering new ways to play. New metas will be discovered. Everyone will be wanting to be a ghoul. It'll be one of the best ways to play this game. More damage, more survivability, and more fun. Playing as a ghoul will definitely be the way to go. Now, in saying that, there are a few perks that are unfortunately not that useful, or are kind of duds, or maybe they're just a straight copy and paste from an existing perk that now also can stack with the original. I would like to see some of these perk cards get adjusted in the PTS to be a bit more unique, and I would also like to see it not be a must-have thing to play as a ghoul. I would like, instead of being a ghoul player being a complete upgrade in every conceivable way from a human player, I would like it to be more of a side grade. So where humans and ghouls can both be viable endgame builds. One is better in certain aspects and one is better in other aspects. I'm just saying I would like both races to have a place in the endgame instead of everything being, okay, the ghoul is just better in this way, that way, that way, that way. I'm going to be a ghoul. There's no point being a human. The ghoul is just superior in every way, shape, or form. I'm sure this whole feature will be adjusted in the PTS when it does go live to the PTS. I will be testing it out a lot as well. I'll be giving my feedback in the Bethcord chat, as I always do. But aside from all that, I'm very excited for this feature. It was a blast to play as a little mock build and deal some seriously high damage numbers with my ghoul player. The glow mechanic is really fun and intuitive. The feral mechanic I didn't really get to make use of too much, but it is really cool to see in action. And I sincerely hope more things like this get added in the future. Having more playable races in the online Fallout 76 MMO type style game is just a huge win in my opinion. Giving more build diversity, more build choices, and more ways to play can never be a wrong thing to do. So yeah guys, that is my complete breakdown and information dump of all of the new perk cards. Please be sure to leave your thoughts down below in the comments, what you think about it all, what you would change if anything, and tell me if you're excited or not to become a ghoul. Until then, I've been Tia, and let's roll the outro. That's going to do it for me. A massive shout out to all of my channel members. You're all legends, and thank you for your continued support on the channel. If you like what I do here and you'd like to support me further, then consider becoming a member or check out my merch store. We've got a lot of great designs and benefits, so be sure to check that out in the description. And while you're down there, chuck me a follow on my other social medias and join my Discord. Subscribe if you're new and like the video if you've enjoyed. I've been Tia, and I'll catch us in the next one. Welcome to Valhalla.